more businesses and jobs are coming to the town of Mount Pleasant. Today, I talk one-on-one with the town's Economic Development Director, Matt Brady, for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Matt Brady, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Great to be here with you, as always.
I appreciate it greatly. Needless to say, you are the Economic Development Director for the town of Mount Pleasant. And I know that you have been there for a little over a year now.
That's right. I've been here going on a year and a half, and they let me keep coming back and have not revoked my key card access yet. So it's been a good fit and loving it here.
Well, let me just begin right there, Matt. The state of Mount Pleasant economically is?
We're doing good, Quintin. We have a pretty healthy tax base right now. When you kind of think about the amount of retail that we have, mixed in with, of course, residential. But part of what we're trying to accomplish here is recruit even more businesses that are sort of related to our strategic clusters and targets to flesh out our economic base and make it an even more vibrant place to do business and live.
What are those strategic clusters that you're focusing on right now?
So we're focused primarily on tech and life sciences and also finance, architecture, engineering, and marketing and publishing. And they are more white collar jobs because Mount Pleasant doesn't really have space for industrial, and they fit the community profile of the town so that we think they can find a good home in here. And so I have a little strategic plan that we had done a few years ago that I keep a copy right here next to me no matter what, just to refer to, and those are the ones that we are primarily focused on.
And you talk obviously about life science and obviously finance and marketing and publishing. So which one of those particular categories actually fit the community's profile the best here?
Right now, I would say the tech sector and life science, and so those are kind of the primary clusters that also align with our partners at the county and Charleston Regional Development Alliance. They create excellent jobs. We've had a lot of momentum in the tech sector here, especially at the Harbor Entrepreneur Center and some of the other Class A spaces that we have here. So those fit pretty good. The others could be sort of classified as professional services that fit within our local advantage cluster, that just have a good place and can find a good home here in Mount Pleasant.
Let me go right to that. The advanced clusters, where exactly can that be ideally in the town of Mount Pleasant right now?
So we have a few development zones identified in our economic development strategy. Those are Patriots Point, Johnny Dodds, Carolina Park, and Long Point Road, of course, out near the port. And inside of our comprehensive plan, we have some redevelopment zones as well. I think anywhere that Class A office or adaptive reuse could occur is a good place for those job creating kind of prospects.
And I hate to be redundant, Matt, but which ones are the best for your which zones are the best for your bang of the buck? Is it redevelopment zones or the actual development zones? I hear a lot people ask me, especially when I took this job, what's left to develop in Mount Pleasant. But just because there are, and I'm kind of going sideways here on you, but just because there's already an existing development somewhere doesn't mean it can't change over time with adaptive reuse. I would say that we've got some Class A office that's going to come online here soon, and it can be really anywhere that the company finds a good home. So to say one is better than the other is kind of hard. We have had a lot of success close down towards the bridge, I guess the southern end of town. But we also have some great office that's being has been redeveloped in the middle and upper parts of town. Carolina Park also has a lot going on, so it's kind of hard to say. Each one has their own flavor and personality, but it's a good place no matter where you land.
And with these companies coming into the town of Mount Pleasant, Matt, where exactly do they want to be, or do they have to fit into some of these zones because of the lack of space?
I mean, you can typically in all areas of town find the appropriate land use designation to put your company. What they're probably going to want to do is be lots of times in an existing office building, and those are sort of scattered all over town. We need more office actually here in town. We've got some that's being developed, but usually wherever they may want to be, there is probably going to be an office space for them that we can help them find and get into.
And you talk obviously about that land use destination. How does that fit into the overall town's strategic plan?
Oh yeah, well, we're going through a comprehensive plan rewrite right now, and Mount Pleasant is pretty committed to when it comes to economic development, attracting users and tenants that are not going to disrupt the high quality of life that we have here. So land use is an important piece of that. When we talk about doing anything from new construction, it's important to think about infill development and adaptive reuse whenever that kind of occurs, because we're also committed to preserving green space whenever possible here in town.
Where exactly is new construction going on in the town of Mount Pleasant?
So we have right now, the former Cinnabar site is going to be a new office complex, and that's going to be great and probably a big catalyst for that part of town. We've got some stuff going on at Patriots Point. We've got some things going on up Carolina Park, including some actual industrial speculative development that is under construction right now. And I'm sure I'm leaving some out, but there are some entitlements for a good handful of office and a little bit of industrial that will probably really add to the Charleston market over the next 5 so years.
In total, when you look at all of these areas in Mount Pleasant, which I love, incidentally, how many entitlements are there left for all of these people who want to come and do business in Mount Pleasant?
Well, so we've got a handful of planned developments all over town. That includes everything from commercial to residential. But an exact number, I'm not sure, but I can tell you that on my little spreadsheet that tracks office development and commercial development, we have somewhere around 1 million square feet that have been given entitlement to go. And most of those, really all of those outside of some of the industrial up at Carolina Park, which is a planned development, are going to be infill developments that will just be office space and not disruptive uses and such.
How can you actually grow the town of Mount Pleasant with smart growth?
Well, that's getting a little bit above my pay grade, but the truth is, you can look at the built environment and see where density makes sense, where it doesn't make sense, where it will negatively impact quality of life, where it won't, and just make sure that whenever anything new comes to town, it goes through our processes to ensure that it is smart and it will be a good piece of our sort of built environment and the fabric of our community.
And you talk about the community, and obviously you talk about the quality of life. What are those population projections for the town of Mount Pleasant for the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, we will be over 1 million. I mean, not 1 million. Sorry, don't say that. No, we'll hit over 100,000 in that amount of time, and just because the region is a very popular place to be, and we happen to think that we have an outstanding quality of life. So even though decisions have been made to sort of slow down some of the growth, people will continue to find us as an attractive place to be. So
Wow.
it will not be at the rate that it has been in the past, but our projections have it over 100,000 in that amount of time.
Okay, what is the current growth rate for the town of Mount Pleasant?
What are the what?
The current growth rate.
It's without quoting me on it, it's around
Sure.
like maybe 1.5, 2%.
Wow.
There was a time in our history that it was really fast growth, and so that's why some of the decisions have been made to take a good hard look at the way that we are growing and not let growth get out of control.
Wow. Well, where exactly can you slow down growth in the town of Mount Pleasant, and where are those areas right now that are actually slowing down as far as growth?
Well, we've had a multifamily moratorium in place for a while, and there, in terms of slowing it down, there's only so much land that is available for residential growth at this point in town, and so that's why our focus is really on the commercial development and attraction of companies within those target sectors.
So, with that slowing down of growth, for lack of a better word, Matt, how many jobs can you actually bring to the town of Mount Pleasant?
Well, I think the answer is a lot. A lot of these companies that we are attracting right now, and the announcements that we've had have been great companies with good paying jobs, but it doesn't have the big capital investment that you see. Let's say you're looking at some sort of manufacturing plant somewhere, and they say this $500 million investment is going to create 300 jobs or something, right? So we have had in the last year and a half officially announced like 130 jobs, but the capital investment is relatively low because these are jobs that use computers and existing office space and things like that. So I think that really the sky's the limit for Mount Pleasant and Charleston in terms of creating jobs. When you think about all those jobs and in the tech sector in life sciences, it really matches the community profile of the people that already live in Mount Pleasant. And so, in a sense, economic development here could alleviate things like traffic and having to leave town every day to go work your job in another part of the region because you're going to be able to work right here in town. So it's kind of been my idea and philosophy that success begets success. And so I think as this tech sector grows and as this burgeoning life science scene kind of hopefully takes root in the region, that we'll see more of these maybe smaller capex announcements, but good numbers of jobs that just are cumulative over time. And part of our goal here is, especially when you think about like the Harbor Entrepreneur Center or maybe nurturing something like innovators and entrepreneurs generally, is the idea that they'll get here in Mount Pleasant, or maybe they already live here in Mount Pleasant. They'll start their business here, and as it scales and their growth continues, they'll choose to have a headquarters here in town or grow their business right here in town as opposed to leaving to go to one of the larger tech metros or life science metros.
I have a couple of questions for you, Matt. So, in the past year or two, how many of those particular businesses have actually scaled and been able to keep their headquarters in Mount Pleasant?
So I have a really good example. We announced one about a month ago. Trad Advisory Services, which is a logistics company, and they started off with 3, and I went by the other day and they've already got 12. So they're some of them are scaling quickly. Some of them are going to be reined in by the market or by the size of their space. But every one of them is continuing to grow because they have a good product that folks are looking to purchase.
Yeah. Speaking of which, does the town of Mount Pleasant actually have enough capital investment for all these businesses that want to come to the town?
Yeah. So in terms of like venture capital, that's a question that we everybody in my business is thinking about here in Charleston and in South Carolina. We definitely could use more venture capital here in town. In terms of capital investment for some of this new construction, they are multi-million-dollar projects, and we're very pleased that people are looking at our town and our market to invest that kind of way. So we're a very popular place for everything from office to retail for that kind of investment, and we're blessed in that regard.
Now, with the town growing the way it is currently, Matt, how does that allow the town to actually diversify its tax base?
Well, that's sort of what it's all about. We have a very healthy retail market, and we have a lot of professional services here as well. And some of the big goals of what we're working on is to get those different kind of jobs here, so that if there is an economic downturn, we have a durable economy that can continue to grow and thrive, and also to offer the people that live here in Mount Pleasant a variety of jobs to work where they don't have to leave town to do it.
Those jobs, I'm looking back from 2020 to now. Obviously, that's 4 years ago, and the time has flown by so quickly. But how many of those jobs are actually work from home jobs?
Well, the ones that we're working on right now are all jobs that are go to an office and work type
Sure.
jobs. And that is, of course, what we want, and that's what the folks that are investing heavily in office and the built environment want as well. That said, there is something to be said for all of the remote work that's occurring, not just here, but across the nation. And part of our strategic goals is to tap into that talent that exists here in Mount Pleasant and in the region, and see, like, okay, these people are obviously very talented working for companies like Oracle or Amazon Web Services, whoever. They're working from home. One, how can we create an ecosystem where there's still a place for them to go to feel part of a community? So that's something we're thinking about. And two, once these people are looking to start their own thing that's innovative and be an entrepreneur, how can we connect them with resources? How can we convince them that Mount Pleasant is the place to do it? They can find the talent, the space, and the support to be successful here. So the ones that we're actively working with are not really remote, but we know that's out there, and connected to those type of workers is part of our strategy.
How has COVID changed your town's ecosystem?
And well, it's changed everybody's ecosystem. There are obviously a lot of folks who work remotely now. And this is sort of anecdotal, but in my time here, I've met scores of people who moved to Charleston, right, broadly, landed here in Mount Pleasant from somewhere like the Northeast, maybe a little bit of the Midwest, and even less the West Coast, but they wanted to move down south, and they are working their job from their home every day. And their biggest concern is my internet going to be fast enough and reliable enough? So it has definitely changed both the environment of people that already work here and lived here, and it's also attracted people that want to kind of live here in paradise, really. And so that's something we think about. And so I don't know what the future is going to look like in terms of tapping into that kind of talent, but that's, like I said before, kind of part of our strategy.
So, what trends are you looking for as far as talent?
So we've got great pipeline coming out of College of Charleston and some of the bigger universities in the state, training people in these technical fields. We've got some good resources here, at the local level, including JRS Coding School that's housed here in Mount Pleasant. So what we need to do is make sure that we support this talent, and part of my job is create jobs here, right? So that, like, if you're leaving College of Charleston or the Citadel or Trident with some sort of technical training, you don't have to go find employment elsewhere. We've got a job for you here in this region so that we can retain talent and grow the sectors that we know create high paying, high quality jobs.
What are those other sectors that you all want to tap into?
Tech and life science primarily for those, and then professional services is another group that we're focused on.
Now, until you all get those resources to actually tap into that talent that you want to, obviously recruit to the town, how many of those people who've actually graduated from the College of Charleston or CSU or Trident Tech or the Citadel have actually become, residents of the town of Mount Pleasant and actually stayed and worked there?
Well, I think a lot of them, but as you know, housing affordability is an issue right now in town, and it's something we're looking to tackle. We're fortunate that we've got a new affordable housing development going in near Carolina Park. Will be 100 attainable units that will be townhomes, and it'll be for those young professionals. Everything from teachers to even law enforcement, but also to young professionals who are sort of in the early part of their career that want to live here in Mount Pleasant. And we think it solves a lot of problems. So we need more stuff like that to make sure that we retain the best type of talent, not only in the region, but right here in Mount Pleasant.
So what is that housing analysis that you and your team are currently looking at?
Well, right now we don't have a formal analysis other than looking at rent prices and home prices and knowing that the average person working their job can't afford a brand new home here in Mount Pleasant. And so we've made the decision to allow affordable housing. And so we'll be looking for more projects like that to hopefully come forward where it's a good mix between how we can support it and really how the private sector can put together housing that can be affordable for not just first time purchase, but through like deed restrictions for generations.
So when you look around the town of Mount Pleasant, when it comes to those jobs and those people who are actually moving there for those types of jobs that you just mentioned, are most of these people renting or actually buying homes for the first time?
I don't have a solid answer for that, Quintin. I think that people who are in the millennial generation, there's a lot of things you read that say they prefer to rent. But home ownership is a good path to wealth generation, and I don't have a good answer of who's doing what, but there's probably a solid mix.
So what do you really need in Mount Pleasant to help with the job growth and obviously business opportunities? Is it affordable housing or is it workforce house?
Those are sort of terms that could be used interchangeably, but we do need housing for everybody, right? We need housing that everyone can tap into, but it's a hard equation to solve because no matter what, we're still the community that's basically the last stop before two wonderful beaches, right? So property values in Mount Pleasant are very high, and I don't know that little Matt Brady's got a good answer for it, but we do need housing for everybody to be able to work here and live here.
And you talk about obviously the stops that you go to before you get to Sullivan's Island, right. Obviously the Isle of Palms, and then obviously the last communities before you leave the town of Mount Pleasant to go to Arndon and McClellanville, right. Or Carolina Park and all of those places out there. Is there enough land left in Mount Pleasant for business?
I know for sure. Redundant. And I do hear that a lot, but in each of our designated zones, we have a handful of undeveloped property, but there's also a tremendous opportunity for adaptive reuse in some of these, let's say the older parts of town that are, maybe they have aging commercial developments that could basically either get repositioned or completely redeveloped by someone who has a different vision for what it could be. And a good example of that is the Shellmore, that was, a grocery anchored complex, and now is super popular with a mix of uses, and people love being there. It's pretty popular with residents in town, and so I think as Mount Pleasant evolves, some projects like that will probably come knocking on our door.
What about Coleman Boulevard?
I mean, Coleman has opportunity for that stuff too. It's sort of our main street,
Yes.
and I think that we have to treat it very carefully when it comes to the built environment, so that we don't change it irreversibly in a way that people don't like. But Coleman has an opportunity for that too. All of our main commercial arteries could be something different, in the future.
Where else are you looking at as far as redevelopment?
Right here where Town Hall is, Houston Northcutt has opportunity, and across the street where Johnny Dodds is, that is, and down towards the bridge, that is a designated, I think it's called redevelopment zone in our comprehensive plan. So there's real opportunity there. And in my mind, and this is just me, anytime you see a building that has a lot of age on it and is in a premium location, there's always an opportunity for redevelopment there.
Wow. When you also look around town, what are those other areas as far as buildings are you looking at as far as trends?
As far as trends, you say?
Yes,
Well, I kind of look at the areas we talked about, and look at which properties might be changing hands, look at who might be looking to do infill development, and supporting them when it makes sense.
Where does infill development make sense right now for the town of Mount Pleasant?
I mean, the old Cinnabar sites is a good example. There's some potential office is going to go on along Long Point behind Chick-fil-A.
Okay.
Anywhere that there's existing commercial space, where if you put new commercial development there or adaptive reuse or whatever, you're basically coming in and using the latest design standards. Hopefully, the developer would use our low impact development guidelines to basically make it greener than it already is. Hopefully, work and make uses there that alleviate traffic and congestion. And lots of these places have oversized parking lots that you can look at, and what can go there that can be a true win-win-win for our residents, the environment, and even the developer who's looking to invest.
How are the town's design standards actually matching the town's comprehensive plan?
They work hand in hand pretty well together. We have a big strategy spreadsheet that, like, everybody makes sure that when they're working on one project, it's in tune with other projects, and so it's a big theme here. I would say the number one theme through everything that we do at Mount Pleasant is preservation of our quality of life, and so anything that disrupts that or makes life worse here, we wouldn't support that. So I've been very impressed with the staff here and council here, how well everyone works together to try to achieve those kind of goals.
And you obviously talked earlier about the developers. So what incentive do you want them to bring as far as commercial to the town of Mount Pleasant?
Anything that aligns with our development, our job attraction goals, and so so far all the folks that have been interested in investing in Mount Pleasant see our job attraction goals as also their essentially tenant attraction goals, and so working with them as partners to get the right fit for those spaces.
And how many goals do you want to reach in the next 5 to 10 years when it comes to job attraction?
we had about 100 jobs announced last year, and I would love to have that same number occur annually. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that we can't really do it without kind of our partners at the county and CRDA and the state. They're always here to lend a helping hand, and so I would like that trend to continue with job numbers and job creation, business expansions. I think that's pretty reasonable. And with the growth related to the office space and the interest in our tech and life science scene, I think it's a reasonable expectation.
You talk about the life in obviously tech area, Matt, and I hate to be trying to put all of the eggs in one basket when it comes to Carolina Park, but is that just the ideal place for all of that right now?
Carolina Park it really can be, because we've got that industrial spec that's being built out there. Town of Mount Pleasant is currently selling a piece of property right next to that industrial spec that is set up to be economic development. So yeah, Carolina Park could be a place that we can kind of crush it in terms of tech and life science.
Wow. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens next. Matt Brady with the Town of Mount Pleasant. Thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you. Always great to be here.
Likewise.